Everyone, myself Sumanta Karmakar, starting your lecture, the seventh lecture on the subject that is digital signal processing DSP. The chapter 7 contains that the statement and proof of sampling theorem. So previously in our last class in the lecture 6, it was discussed that whenever a signal is to be converted into a discrete time signal, the process that is sampling is being used. That means the sampling is the process for which analog signal is being converted to not analog signal exactly, but continuous time signal is being converted to discrete time signal. So today we will learn about what will be the statement about proof and the sampling theorem. The first question, why to use this sampling theorem? What is the need of this sampling theorem? Why you have to learn about this sampling theorem? So it should be remembered that whenever a continuous time signal is being converted into a discrete time signal, the process of that conversion is known as sampling. The process is known as sampling. But whenever we want to do the sampling, the signal, whenever it is being converted into a discrete time signal, the time spacing between the signal, whenever it is being converted to discrete time signal, there will be a spacing between the samples when it is being done by discrete time signals. Whenever it is being done in discrete time signals, so that time should be defined there whenever it is being defined by using the process of sampling. So what will be the value of that time sampling interval? That time is being defined by sampling interval. What will be that value of that time? The reason for choice of that time, that sampling interval, what will be the value of sampling interval? What is the choice of sampling interval? Reason behind that, we have to learn about what is sampling theorem. That means for choosing the value of that sampling interval, we have to learn about sampling theorem. By sampling theorem, we have to learn about what will be that value of time. What is the space between the discrete time between two successive samples. So what is the need of sampling theorem? It actually needs for converting a continuous time signal into a discrete time signal. Certainly, whenever we are converting a continuous time signal into a discrete time signal by using the process of sampling, certainly we have to follow the rule of sampling theorem. Without following this rule of sampling theorem, we cannot convert a continuous time signal into a discrete one. Second one, when the conversion is taken place, the gap between the samples, what I actually told earlier, when the conversion is taken place, when the conversion of this discontinuous time signal into a discrete time signal conversion is taken place, the gap, the space, the interval between the sample, between two consecutive sample, whenever it is a discrete time signal, between the consecutive sample there is a gap. That gap is known as sampling interval. So between the samples in discrete time signal need to be fixed by theorem, and that gap to be defined. What will be the value of time? That gap should not be any value according to our choice. That should be already predefined, pre-monitored by using that sampling theorem. For that fixation of that sampling theorem, we have to learn about sampling theorem for that particular conversion. That's why sampling theorem is very much needed for our conversion. So whenever it is being needed, we have to learn about the statement of sampling theorem also. What is the statement of sampling theorem? Sampling theorem means whenever a converted signal is being converted to discrete time signal, certainly you have to maintain the gap. There are some rules are there for that gap. That gap is known as sampling interval, and that sampling interval is divided by T or TS, sampling interval TS. Certainly if I do the reciprocal of that gap, reciprocal of that time 1 by TS, certainly it will give you a value in terms of Hz, that is frequency, rate. So there are two fixations. One is for sampling interval and another is the reciprocal of the sampling interval, that is sampling rate. So according to that of the either it is in time domain or it is in frequency domain, we have to fix that values. So according to that nature of time or frequency, it should be defined. The statement of sampling theorem also defined by in two ways. One in time domain statement, one is frequency domain statement. The first one is time domain statement. What is the time domain statement? Consideration is that a band limited signal of finite energy. Whenever a signal is being to be converted into a discrete time signal, the signal should be a band limited signal. That means its maximum value of frequency and minimum value of frequency should to be fixed. Minimum value of frequency is to be maybe 0 hertz, but maximum frequency should have to be maintained very easy, very clearly. That means depending upon that maximum value, maximum frequency component of that value, of that signal, of that continuous time signal, the totally depend on this sampling theorem. That's why it is known as band limited signal of finite energy. The energy of that signal is also should to be finite. So statement started in this way: a band limited signal of finite energy which has no frequency component higher than FM Hertz. That means whenever a signal is there, continuous time signal is defined by x of t, that x of t should be defined by a band limited signal, and its maximum frequency component present in that signal should be defined by FM Hertz. So maximum frequency content, if it is a multi-tone signal, there are several frequencies are there, F1, F2, F3, F4, F5. Out of those frequencies, the maximum value of that frequency is known as defined by FM here. So a band limited signal of finite energy which has no frequency component higher than FM Hertz is completely described by the sample values at uniform intervals less than or equals to 1 by twice FM seconds apart. That means the signal which has the maximum frequency component of FM Hertz should be completely described by its sample values. That means that should be defined, that should be converted, that clearly to be converted or can be converted to a discrete time signal if after that conversion the gap is to be defined by uniform interval. The gap should be uniform for all the successive intervals. It should be uniform and its value should be at least equal to or less than that value of 1 by twice FM. Depending upon the value of FM, if I want to make 1 by twice FM, so the value of that sampling interval should be less than or equal to that value of 1 by twice FM. That is the first statement, time statement of that sampling theorem. So in mathematically it can be defined as TS. The sampling interval should be less than equals to 1 by twice of FM. Now what is the second statement? Second statement related to that of the statement of frequency statement of sampling theorem. It will be also started in that same way, because in both the ways analog signal is being converted to continuous time signal is being converted to discrete time signal. The statement will be started with the same way, but it should be fixed, it should be clear cut. That's it, this information should be there. A band limited signal of finite energy. Without this information it should not be established, this theorem should not be established. So what is the frequency statement? A band limited signal of finite energy. A band limited signal of finite energy which has no frequency component higher than FM Hertz. The same statement, same first two lines for the first statement also. We have to take one signal xt, continuous time signal, which is a band limited signal, which has finite of energy, as well as which has maximum frequency component present in that signal is defined by FM. And that signal, the concept is that this signal should to be completely recovered from the knowledge of its samples. Here it is nothing but not in the forward way, it is simply in the backward way. That means we have already done the sampling, that means we have already converted that signal, continuous time signal, into a discrete one by using that the first theorem. But if I want to reconstruct, if I want to recover that continuous time signal from that its samples, the rate of that sample, the rate at which it should be converted, it should be recovered, the rate or sampling rate or frequency of sampling will be defined by at least equals to or greater than its value of twice of FM. That means frequency statement tells us that mathematically the value of sampling rate, the rate at which it should be recovered, the rate is defined by Fs, sampling frequency. Its value should be greater than equals to, at least equals to or greater than that one, double of that maximum frequency component in that xt. So either we have to follow Fs is greater than equals to twice FM, or we have to follow the value of Ts less than equals to 1 by twice FM. Just simple the same equation. If I reciprocating that value of fs 1 by ts, the equation same as that of the first one. That will be the two statement of sampling theorem. So in that way, the sampling theorem can be stated as in time domain as well as in frequency domain. Okay. The next one, according to that sampling theorem, the continuous time signal is being defined by mt, the message signal is being converted to that of the signal of mst, that is sampled message signal mst, and the gap is being maintained by ts. So here is the concept. By according to that knowledge of sampling theorem, we are simply converting that signal, the first one mt, continuous time signal, is being converted to sampled message signal mst in the third graph by using that unit impulse function train. So here the concept of that sampling by using of that approach of sampling theorem, by using the process of sampling theorem, where we are maintaining that sampling interval as ts. For each and every interval should be fixed and uniform. ts, then ts to 2 ts, the knowledge is same. Now, how to prove this sampling theorem? That means we have already told that the statement of sampling theorem according to time domain and according to frequency domain, it will be in that way. But how to prove this sampling theorem? To prove that sampling theorem, we have to consider something. So consider a continuous time signal. We are considering a continuous time signal, and that continuous time signal is being defined by x of t. And the x of t is also defined by a band limited signal of finite energy, and its maximum band limited to FM Hertz. So that means it is already defined that the maximum frequency component present in that signal xt is defined by FM Hertz. That is, we can say the spectrum of xt is 0 if we are getting any frequency omega greater than twice omega. Omega is nothing but the angular frequency for those values of signal. So basically, as its maximum frequency is fm or its maximum angular frequency is omega m, so certainly the spectrum of xt is 0 for any value of greater than or exceeding the value of omega m. Now we have to do the sampling on that continuous time signal xt. So how can we do that sampling? Simply by multiplicating of xt with that of the impulse train of relativity, as it is being defined in our last graph. In the A graph, that is the continuous time signal. In the C graph is being defined by the converted sampling signal. How it is defined? Simply multiplication of signal A with the signal of B. B is defined by a simple impulse train. So if I multiply mt with delta t, it will simply define as sample signal, as in that the second way. The sampling of that input signal xt can be obtained by multiplying that xt. In that figure it will be defined by mt, but here it will be xt with that of the impulse train a delta t for a period of ts. The output of that of the multiplier. Simply we are multiplying that signal with impulse train to get the value of discrete time signal, and that signal is known as sampled signal, and it will be defined by in our following diagrams. So how the diagram shows? At first the continuous time signal x of t, then the signal is delta t is being defined, it's an impulse train with a gap is being maintained by the same time interval, sampling interval ts. So if I multiply these two signal, we are certainly getting the value of y of t. In the last equation, by equation of 1 is being defined that the sampled signal y of t is nothing but the sampled version of that of the signal of x of t. So y is nothing but sampled version of x of t, and it is simply defined by multiplication of xt with delta t. So in that block diagram, it is also defined that if xt and delta t are the two input signal for that multiplier, certainly the output signal is defined by y of t. So by using that multiplier, we can easily find out, we can easily convert that xt signal, continuous time signal, into a discrete one. So the last one, x of omega. So continuous time signal is being defined by x of t, and whenever we are finding out its frequency spectrum, so we are getting its value is defined by simply x of omega. And whenever we are finding the frequency spectrum of y of t, certainly we are getting the value of in terms of y of omega. So x of omega, y of omega is nothing but the frequency spectrums of xt and yt, the continuous time signal and discrete time signal. Now, in the following way, impulse train is nothing but defined by delta t, and it is that multiplying factor. So, according to Fourier series representation, as it is a periodic signal, so it can also be defined by a Fourier series representation as simple as delta t equals to S0. A0 is nothing but the discrete DC value, and its value is normally defined by 1 by t, that is here it is 1 by ts. So delta t can be represented in Fourier series representation as delta t equals to A0 plus summation of an cos n omega t plus bn sin omega n omega t. According to that Fourier series representation, it can be easily converted to that one. So delta t is nothing but defined by A0 plus summation of an cos n omega t plus bn sin omega naught n omega t. A0 is nothing but the DC term. Here its value is defined by 1 by ts, and an and bn are nothing but Fourier series coefficient. So if I put that value of delta t by putting the value of A0 1 by ts in that equation, we are simply getting that equation of 1 will be simply celebrated as yt equals to xt into that value of delta t. Now if I apply Fourier transformation on both sides, so we are getting Fourier transformation means we are simply converting the time domain signal into its corresponding Fourier frequency spectrum. We are simply gathering its value as y of omega, the frequency spectrum of y of t, as x of omega multiplied with that of the Fourier series coefficient. So how it actually executes as y of omega is nothing but that 1 by ts, that is the A0 value, and it should be multiplied with different aspects of that of the x, frequency spectrum of xt. So it can be defined by x of omega plus x of omega minus omega s, x of omega plus omega s relating to that value of ts, then x of omega minus 2s, 2 omega s, x of omega plus 2 omega s, and in that way it can be continued, because that for that summation the value of n ranges from minus infinite to plus infinite. If I put any value of n from minus 1 to plus 1, minus 2 to plus 2, we can get that value of y omega according to that of the equation 3. So finally, if I write that entire equation without the third bracket in equation 3, in the simple way, the equation number 4 establishes as y of omega is nothing but 1 by ts summation of x of omega minus n omega s, where n ranges from any value of negative to any value of positive. That means n can be defined as 0, plus minus 1, plus minus 2, plus minus 3 in that way. That establishes the equation number 4. So in that way, we can define that if we do that value of omega s in that equation, it is simply defined by right side of omega m and left side of omega m. Certainly the value of omega s should be at least equal to of twice omega m for exact matching of that sampling. That means if I write to reconstruct that xt from that of the equation number 4, we have to recover input signal spectrum x of omega from that of the sample signal y of omega. That means by doing the sampling, we are simply converting xt into y of t. But if I want to recover that signal x of t by using that second statement of sampling theorem, we are simply lodging that formula that x of omega should be extracted from that of the sample signal spectrum y of omega, which is possible when there is no overlapping between the signals or cycles of y of omega. How it can be defined? It can be defined in the simple way of structure by according to the 3 waveforms. In the first waveform, the value of fs is much greater than twice fm. It simply follows the statement of sampling theorem. So in that way, there is a certain gap is there. As fs is greater than of twice fm, certainly a gap is being maintained. Greater than twice fm. How much it will be greater than that gap is being maintained between the defined triangular component of that of the signal. In the second structure, in the second graph, if the value of fs is exactly twice of fm, what it actually does, it is known as perfect sampling. In that first one, as fs is greater than or over value of that one, this type of process is nothing but defined by oversampling. In the second process, it will be simply defined as exactly the value of fs is equals to twice of fm. That means it will be defined by a perfect sampling. In the third way, if the value of fs is less than 1 by twice fm, that is known as undersampling. So fs is less than of twice of fm. If I take the value of time in that way, the value of ts will be greater than 1 by twice fm. As that value of time sampling interval increases, so certainly it will be overlaps with each other. That means corresponding to successive signals, the signal samples are overlapping with each other. If two signals are overlapping with each other, that means some information between the corresponding common signals are being lost, and that is not accepted. That type of effect, that type of error, or that type of noise is simply defined by a aliasing effect, and that should be defined by avoiding that rule of sampling theorem. In the third way, fs is less than twice fm. It simply disobeys, disrespects, or not following the rule of sampling theorem. So if I follow the sampling theorem, there will be no problem. If it does not follow that sampling theorem, there will be a problem of aliasing effect. And that aliasing effect can be defined as in that way. Aliasing is an effect that causes different signals to become indistinguishable because they are overlapping with each other. Some information are being lost from each other during sampling. Aliasing is characterized by the altering of output compared to the original signal, because resampling or interpolation resulted in a lower resolution in images, because there is an overlap between the signals, so there will be lower resolution in that images. A slower frame rate is also there in terms of video and lower wave resolution in audio. That's why we have to follow that sampling theorem so as to avoid this aliasing effect. In another way, if I don't want to follow that sampling theorem, another process is that if I want to avoid that aliasing effect, there will be anti-aliasing filters are also here to correct this type of problem. So either we have to follow that sampling theorem, or we have to use that anti-aliasing filter to correct this type of problem. So in that way, we can manage that aliasing effect. So in that way, we have completed our 7th lecture. That is, at first one, we are stating what are the basics of this lecture. We are stating what we know why the sampling theorem is very much needed. Then we know what will be the statement of that sampling theorem according to two statements, time and frequency. Then according to that method, how the sampling is being done. And then we are doing that process of proof of sampling. How the sampling theorem can be proved. That means the value of f is how it can be defined by greater than or equals to of twice fm, not less than that of twice fm. It is being done there by using Fourier series representation. And lastly, if I avoid that sampling theorem, what the effects are being done, that is in terms of the name of aliasing, is being discussed there. So thank you everyone for the today's class.